Y'all, we're at the point of holding hearings about hearings over other hearings. We don't expect anything less in this case. So prosecutor Rob Wood has filed a motion to reconsider for the court. Rob Wood doesn't want the preliminary hearings to have any kind of video coverage for fear of not giving Chad Daybell a fair trial. Rob Wood says, look, I get it. Daybell has a right to have his hearing, his trials, whatever, open to the public, transparency. And he's like, yeah, and I get it. The public has a right to see such stuff. But on the same note, he's like, I'm not looking for a closed or sealed trial. There's still going to be various ways that this is covered. He says, look, I want this preliminary hearing to be treated like almost every other preliminary hearing is, without any cameras in the courtroom. Now, he cites, some case law that just reiterates and backs up the point that he is trying to serve. He says, look, it's part of my obligation to make sure Daybell gets a fair trial. And he continues, look, you know what? By live streaming broadcasting this, it is going to drastically inhibit his chances of getting a fair and unbiased jury in this county. He says, look, voir dire is already going to be really difficult to do with this case. I mean, it's gotten so much publicity. And he's like, if we continue to do this and broadcast this stuff, it's just going to make that process worse. Now, remember, that's the process where they are trying to, pick the jury out. They're questioning them. They're scaling people back and picking and framing the jury, that's going to sit for the trial. And again, he says, look, you know what? If we don't have the live streaming broadcasting thing, news outlets and whatnot can still report on this. They're still going to have transcripts. They're still going to have audio. They're still going to have still pictures. Like, all that's going to be there. And so Rob is really trying to frame this more for the court to say, look, this isn't so much about, is this the public's right and whatnot, but is this going to give the defendant a fair trial? Now, y'all, the other side of the coin, coming from the old Daybell side, they had a few things to say. Let's start with John Pryor. Puns intended on that. Of course, John Pryor's like, look, he's got a right to a public trial. John Pryor's like, yeah, the prosecution's right. There has been a lot of coverage on this, a lot of media coverage. He says, in fact, look, state and local law enforcement have been out there saying stuff publicly, already kind of, tainting people's opinions and thoughts on this case. Now, y'all, Mark Means, of course, had to say something too. Y'all already know he butted his way in there. We can sum it up in just a few statements. Y'all, he was like, yeah, you know what he said. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I concur. Y'all, it was pretty much the same stuff, I mean, he just basically did a copy and paste on this one, y'all. He cited again, that law enforcement, different, people in law enforcement had been on camera saying things. They're basically trying to be like, we haven't been out there doing that. It's the state that's been out there doing that, not us. I'm like, yeah, everyone else in the Vallow Daybell side of the fence has easily been on TV as much as they can, completely making themselves all look incredibly bad. But let's just focus on a few things said by local agencies. Now, y'all, local media outlets have joined in on this too, because they want this, and they're citing several things as well. They take the side more of like, look, you know what, we need to make sure the defendant has a transparent, open hearing, for a fair trial in that context. They also circle back around to the voir dire, and they're like, look, you know what, this isn't like a burden we're trying to avoid with that process being tricky. Yeah, we already know that's going to be hard, but that process is what weeds people out to begin with. So that's part of the justice system, is that, we can't try and avoid things to make it easier. So, y'all, look, here's my 2 damn cents on it. Do I personally want the hearings aired? Hell yeah. I mean, I think all of us do. Do I see logical sides from both sides of the party? Absolutely. From the state, I understand them being like, look, this is going to make an already bizarre out there case even more public, and more information. It's going to make it harder to find just a jury that doesn't already have an opinion on this. I'd beg to differ that that's already been done though. Now, from Daybell's attorneys and whatnot, and I can't believe I'm agreeing with them, I also see where they're like, no, you know what, our client, we want this to be out there and open. However, I personally think They are lining up several horrible things. I think it is going to be a you-know-what show from start to finish. I think this will be used as a personal, podium, a soapbox, if you will, for the people, Chad and Lori, involved in this case. I also think that these attorneys are going to, y'all, go ahead and file an appeal on these two. Okay, just go ahead and get the paperwork going. So I do think it's a novel idea for Chad's attorney to be like, no, we're going to fight for a fair trial. I think they're hiding behind that with ulterior motives. And guess what? We're going to be seeing Monday. So be sure to tune in for that little number. Now, if you want to watch the rest of my coverage on this trial, click the videos up here. I don't know what side, but please click them. And guess what? I'll talk to you later.